Hello and welcome to the Purchase to Payment project. This is the trial introduction for the 4 trial districts. Firstly, I wanted to start with telling you a bit about the vision, the objective and the timescales. So the vision for the project is a cash-free solutions for all expenditure for external transactions. The objective is initially to reduce the total outlet expenditure and maximise profit, but also to maximise our M&B purchasing scale. The timescale for the project are trials in period 7 in 4 districts, which is yourselves, and we've purposely chosen 1 per division. And then we're looking at an estate-wide rollout of cash-free solutions from period 9 2018 and to be cash-free by the end of FY18, so this September. Just to take you through some of the reasoning behind what we're doing, so our current approach to business level purchasing. We currently spend 16 million in cash, and that's over the last 13 periods, and that's excluding in-house promotions and guest recovery. So 16 million in cash spent with local suppliers and in petty cash. We're one of the few remaining multi-site retailers that's still using cash for local purchasing. We get a loss of purchasing scale, so that's 16 million. We're obviously buying with all local suppliers without any central deals, and there's a great saving to be had in many of those areas. We have some weak cost control and lack of pre-approval for line managers and RBMs, so RBMs don't often get to see the expenditure until it's happened, and so some of our solutions will give the opportunity for RBMs to see that before the cash gets spent. We also have poor reconciliation of VAT at the RSC, so every year we do a dip test across the business and it can often cost us quite a bit more in VAT because of the lack of transparency on some of the invoices and receipts put through the WSOB currently. It's also susceptible to fraudulent activity, which can cost us a fair few pounds. Wasted time out of the business for GMs and teams, so we're hoping that some of our solutions will really help with that. Risk of poor quality products and safety issues, so we don't have any control over what gets bought locally, and there could be some issues for yourselves and for guests. And then ultimately cash loss. When things go wrong, an OPM comes in, some of these receipts turn into a cash loss at business level. So we've found a number of solutions that cover all of the 7 areas that you see across the top. So across the top of the screen here you see with a pointer, these are all of the areas that we've looked at in terms of alternative solutions to cash. And then down on the left hand side here you'll see we've labelled them the correct first time supplier process, so this is what we should always use whenever possible. The second here is a contingency process, so if that correct supplier process fails then the contingency process is there, and if for whatever reason the contingency process isn't available or doesn't work at that moment in time, then for some of these we've got an emergency process. So I'll walk you through them and what they mean. So first of all, obviously food purchases, Brakes are our main food supplier and distributor, and we should always, wherever possible, be getting our food supplies through Brakes. But every now and then Brakes fail us or we get our ordering wrong, and we need to go and buy things locally within the food safety policy. So the contingency process will be Booker Wholesale. You'll have an account with Booker and you'll be able to go to a local Booker store. We've mapped the whole of M&B and approximately 87% of sites have a Booker within a 20 to 30 minute drive. So this is obviously for larger purchases where you've really got a stock shortage on a particular item or a few items. And then the emergency process is Solemnity Expenses. Now Solemnity Expenses is what all of the corporate employees in Mitchells & Butlers already use for their business expenses. So we'll be extending those accounts to general managers and any salaried managers. So this example might be you need 5 pints of milk and there's a Tesco's 2-minute walk away from your business. You would purchase the milk on the expenses system rather than driving 20 minutes to Booker, and you would claim that back and typically get that money back within 2 to 4 days. So that's for food purchases. Quite similar for consumables in that Go Procure Trade Simple is the ideal route, or Bunzl if you happen to use Bunzl, one of the few brands that use Bunzl. And obviously delivered by Brakes through Trade Simple. That is the preferred route, and we should always be using overspends through Trade Simple as opposed to going to local suppliers. But where they might be out of stock on certain items, or items don't turn up, or you're in desperate need of some red spot items that Booker will sell, then again Booker Wholesale will be your contingency process. And the same goes as before, you'll have an account, and the key thing with those accounts is they'll get paid centrally, so you won't require cash out of the safe. And then again, the emergency process will be the expenses system, which you would pay for locally and claim back through the expenses system. And then an interesting one is accommodation travel. We found a company called Click Travel, who are effectively like Expedia for a corporation, and they will search for, find and book rail fares, airfares and hotels. And I'll take you through a bit more about Click Travel shortly. There isn't necessarily a contingency process, but there is an emergency process. So if you urgently have been asked to go to another business with a couple of hours notice, and you need to go by train, and you need to book a hotel because you're staying there for a few days, then the expenses is the fallback option where you would claim that back, very much as you do now, but it would be self-funded until you claim that back. It wouldn't be from cash from the safe. Mileage and subsistence, the expenses system. So if you're travelling to a district meeting by car, or you're going on a course, you would claim your mileage costs and any subsistence costs back through expenses. And that's the only system. There's no need for a contingency or emergency process there. And as you'll already know, entertainers and local suppliers like gardeners and window cleaners are all to be paid through Event UK by the end of this month. And there will be no option to pay via cash in the coming months. So it's really important that everyone is registered through Event UK. And then other purchases are through the fives via a purchase order, and I'll take you through a little bit more detail on what that might look like. And then guest related expenses, mainly around damaged property, coats and things that have been damaged in the business. Then the proper route for that is guest care, and not through guest recovery on the WSOB. So that's a picture of all of the different solutions we have in place. And I'm going to take you through each one individually, just so you've got a little bit more information. So Booker Wholesale, Booker Cash and Carry have great coverage locations across Mitchells and Butlers estate. We have provided a map of your businesses and where your nearest Booker outlet is for your business. So your RBM has been sent a map that we've had put together of where those Bookers are related to your businesses. You'll receive a card as a member of the M&B national account. Purchases at Booker should only ever be made in urgent situations where Brakes Bunzl have failed to deliver essential and trade impacting items to your business. Expenditure will be paid centrally, so all transactions will be transferred to your P&L each period, and then RBMs will receive an itemised breakdown of purchases made at each site on a weekly basis. Purchases should always be made in line with the M&B safety policy, so particularly around food, we should make sure that we're following the safety policy both in what we're purchasing and how we're transporting it back to the business. And clearly some items will be locked out for our account, so things like alcohol, you won't be able to purchase alcohol on this account, or it certainly won't be approved. So that's an overview of Booker Wholesale. Click Travel. So Click Travel, just like I said, is like a corporate Expedia account. The system is available as a website or as a mobile optimised website for your mobile. You search for rail fares and accommodation and airfare in rare circumstances and select the best value option for your chosen dates. Your order will be sent to your RBM for pre-approval, and if approved, the confirmation details will be received on the business email. Click Travel work with other large corporations, and as such they have very competitive fares. And train travel costs £1 admin fee and accommodation £3.50, which, okay, we don't pay those fees currently, but we also don't get the competitive fares that we'll get through Click Travel, so we're pretty confident that will all come out in the wash. And then once approved, payments will be made centrally for each booking, so no cash required to complete that transaction when you get to the accommodation or to the train station. RBMs will receive weekly confirmation of costs by each business, so if there are any problems, we'll be able to challenge any costs that have come through. The cost will then be transferred to your P&L each period onto the appropriate lines. And the opportunity to save money here is all about booking ahead. The better planned you can be, the cheaper the fare and the greater the saving. So we really encourage you to try and book ahead if you've got district meetings and you know where the location is, or if you've got courses a few weeks in advance. Really try and book ahead and get the best deals you can. So that's ClickTravel. In with the email that this video has been sent on, there is another video which is a quick 2-minute overview of ClickTravel, and it's just on YouTube, so you can have a quick look and familiarise yourself with what the system looks like from the providers themselves. And then Solenity expenses, as I mentioned earlier, this is what all our corporate users currently use for business expenses. So Solenity expenses is that same system as corporate employees. The system is both a web-based and app-based solution, so this has actually got an app with it as well, which you'd be able to download. You will use the system largely for mileage claims and small expenses incurred whilst travelling. The system will also be available in emergency situations whereby you may need to make small local purchases for approved items, or where last minute travel means ClickTravel is not appropriate. So another example, I used the milk earlier. You would have a kitchen food category within Solenity, and you'd be able to claim for that milk against that category. So at least we'd know exactly what was being purchased, and you take a picture of the receipt, goes onto the system, and it's all very neat and tidy end to end. Once you place a claim in Solenity, your RBM will get a breakdown of your claim and have the ability to approve, decline or request further detail on each expense claim. So if it's a straightforward claim for the pints of milk, you would attach a picture, put the details of your expenditure in, send it off. Your RBM would receive on their app a request for expenses approval. You can do that within 10 seconds, approve it, and then that transaction then goes through to Solenity, who organise for payment of that expense back to your personal account that you've nominated. Once approved, the claim will be processed and paid back to your nominated account within 2 to 5 days of approval, and RBMs will receive weekly reportage on the expenses processed. Successfully claimed expenses will be charged back to your P&L each period, and that will be back to the same location on your P&L as you would see it now, just coming from a different source than from the WSAB. So a well-proven system that all of our corporate teams are using. This is just really an extension of that. We'd be really interested to see how you get on with that on the trial. And then Event UK, we've already said, so Event UK now manage all of our payments to third-party local suppliers. All entertainers, local gardeners and window cleaners should now be paid via Event UK. Weekly reporting is provided to both businesses and RBMs for the invoices processed through Event. We will no longer have the ability to pay local suppliers by cash. And that should all be completed by the end of, I think it was the end of March, that all of that should be completed. So the transfer of all those suppliers. So please, if you haven't done that already, and if you've got any local suppliers, particularly window cleaners and gardeners, or you've got any entertainers that are still being paid via cash, and I know Sharon Ward's district is slightly different, and you've been briefed separately on that because of the amount of entertainment you have in play. Please make sure that all of those guys have had the right letters and have all registered themselves with Event UK. Then moving on to the fives and purchase orders. So you should you have the need to purchase any items outside the existing solutions, you should contact the fives to discuss a central payment via our purchase order process. Once a purchase order is placed, the RBM will receive an approval email. Once approved, the purchase order will be sent to the supplier to commence the order. This process should only be used where your RBM has already approved the expense, so don't give the fives a call until you've had a conversation with your RBM. An example may be a skip to remove waste or a marquee for a sales building event, and that would then be paid centrally through the fives and transferred back to the P&L. And then in the rare occasion that we damage someone's property, a bag or a coat or a pair of shoes or something, then we would follow that through with guest care, and should that be appropriate, we would raise a cheque and send it direct to that guest. So we wouldn't do what you may have done before, which is paying cash for a receipt via the WSAB directly back to that guest. These transactions will no longer be allowed via the guest recovery line. So the guest recovery line will remain open on the WSAB, as will local promotions, but these are for internal transactions only. So an actual guest recovery claim as opposed to compensation claim. So here's a quick look at the timelines. So at the top here, the trial go live brief sent via email to all trial sites yourselves, ready for go live in P7 week 1. So on Monday the 19th of March, P6 week 4, you'll have full details of the systems, how to log in, what to do and when. So a week before go live, you'll have all of that information. So set some time aside to have a good read through that information. And we're hoping that all of these systems will be in place and ready to go on the 26th of March. But obviously, being a trial, and we're still working through with some of these suppliers, it may be that some are delayed by days, but we'll keep you completely informed as to what's going to go live and when. And our hope is that we have all of these solutions ready to go live on P7 week 1. So you've got a week then to digest that information, share it with your salaried team, and then solutions go live in all trial sites from Monday 26th of March. So login emails received at all sites, so they will come from Click Travel and Selenity. And then the WSOB lines will be closed apart from the local promo and guest recovery. And what will happen, we'll give you a contact number should you have an issue whereby you've got an expense, you don't know which solution to use. We'll give you contact so you can contact information so you can understand what the best course of action is. And remember, this is a trial, so we really want your feedback to come thick and fast. If you're having issues, if it's causing problems, if the systems are difficult to use, and for RBMs, if the approvals are becoming a pain, then we really want to hear that, because a big part of the trial is working out what is the right settings and solutions for each of the areas that we're looking at. And then the trial period will be for 4 weeks for the whole of period 7, P7 week 1 to P7 week 4. And then full trial feedback, review and final rollout planning will happen in period 8. So that's when we'll be consolidating all of your feedback, taking that all into account and working out what the rollout looks like. And we're not fixed to a rollout in period 9. If for whatever reason we need to trial for longer or we need to look at different solutions, then we'll absolutely do that before we consider rolling out for all of the solutions for the whole estate. But at the moment, full business rollout of purchase to payment solutions is earmarked for period 9, but that's very much on the basis of a successful trial. So what happens next, just to recap, you'll receive your full brief on Monday the 19th of March. All go live communications will be received on Monday 26th of March. All WSOB lines except guest recovery and local promotions will be removed from the back office system. You'll receive key contact information should you experience any problems throughout the trial. A nominated GM and the RBM from each trial area will join a conference call on Monday the 5th of March to raise any concerns you have with the trial. So hopefully your RBM's already discussed with you which of you in the room is going to take down any notes from today, any queries, questions, challenges from your colleagues in the room. And on that call at 3:30 Monday the 5th of March, we're going to go through all of those questions, queries, challenges. Hopefully we'll either have the answers, or it might be things we haven't thought of, and we'll go away and think of the answers and come back to you. But we really appreciate the RBMs and lead GM coming on that call with us. And then please embrace this change. We'll give plenty of opportunities to give us feedback to help us build the best possible rollout plan for the rest of the business. And we really do want your feedback. Please be challenging. And if things aren't working for you, it's important that we know. And as this is a trial, there may be things that don't go perfectly well to start with, so please work with us and let us know when you experience problems, frustrations, and we'll obviously do our best to fix those. And we will have contingency process in place if for whatever reason some of the systems don't work properly or anything fails, so you won't be out of pocket. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being part of the trial. We really do appreciate it. Obviously you'll get further communications as to how you feedback and who you do that to, but in the meantime, my name's Rob Gray, Head of Ops Effectiveness, and you can drop me an email or call me. I'm on Mobex 4230. David Hoyland is Operations Director for Harvester, who is the Operations Director lead on this initiative, on this project, as part of Ignite 2. And then our subject matter expert is Darryl Wilson, who's the Director of Procurement. So we're all here to field any questions you've got. If you come to me initially, if I don't have the answers, I'll certainly be able to find them for you. Thanks again, thanks for listening, and look forward to seeing how we get on. Cheers.